Happy Friday, everybody. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. This week's edition of the B2M2 podcast. He's Mitchell Machtinger, I'm Michael Hoad, and we'll be your host for the next half hour. I'm going to play you a clip here, Mitch, and then I want to hear your reaction. Are you ready?
All right, let's do it. Okay, so I didn't know that there were any helicopters in the Big Brother house this season.
Yeah, I don't know what that was, but it was weird. All right, let's get going here. We start the week by resuming the HOH egg competition from the last episode. So we pick things up, and of course Victoria is struggling mightily in this egg competition. People are hearing the eggs dropping, and they can't see who it's coming from, but afterwards in the diary room, they all know that it was Victoria. Are you surprised that she was struggling here?
No, when I saw her struggling so much, I wondered why her partner, I think it was Christine, why they just didn't switch positions. But then I realized after that there was a gate in between the two.
So Brittany and Jocasta were in the lead at the beginning. They had 5 eggs, I think, before anyone else had more than 2. They didn't end up winning, but that would have been interesting to see what they would have done in power. And then Derek is really making it known that he's pulling for Cody and Frankie to win. He was the HOH the previous week, so he couldn't compete. What did you think of him showing his cards there?
Well, I mean, Cody and Frankie were the only pairing in that competition that were sort of in an alliance together. Everyone else was sort of a random pairing. But, I mean, people have to know that Derek and Frankie and Cody are pretty close by now. I mean, making it that obvious, I'm not too sure about that. But, I mean, it is what it is, right?
In the end, the contest comes down to Cody and Frankie versus Zach and Amber. I was getting really nervous here because it was either going to be 20 points for me or 20 points for you. In the end, Cody and Frankie pulled it out. That's a huge swing in the point totals, and I really needed that this week.
It's funny that you say that, though. We can get into that later, but...
So after the competition's over, everyone goes and meets up in the HOH room. Derek says he's still down to work with the Bomb Squad members for the immediate future just to keep the numbers on their side. And Brittany is sure that she's going to go on the block. She knows that the Bomb Squad is still out there because, you know, she's a smart woman. And she's quite sure she's going up. So in the HOH room, Frankie gets the letter from home and the pictures of his family. The only picture with Ariana Grande is one with skeleton makeup all over her face, but the letter is from Ariana, so that was a little nerve-wracking, but she signed it Ari, and the secret is still safe.
Yeah, that's the whole angle's overplayed. Nothing's going to happen with it ever, so
ever.
They just need to stop doing it.
You don't think it might come out in the final few weeks?
No, then they're not going to show them a picture, and if they haven't realized it by now, then they won't. And I'm sure if most of them saw a picture of Ariana Grande anyways, I know if I did, I'd have no idea who she was.
Very, very true. So the Bomb Squad is now down to 5, apparently. Caleb and Amber are cut out of the loop, and the new alliance of 5 is formed, and they call themselves the Detonators. They come up with a handshake, and once you have a name and a handshake in the Big Brother house, your alliance is official. What's your first impression of the Detonators?
I mean, they had to cut down the numbers. I remember Devin said on his exit interview that trying to coordinate things between 8 people was really tough, and that decisions would be made with just a couple of them in the room because they couldn't get all 8 at the same time. So, I mean, you could tell that these 5 were really the close ones, and the whole Caleb Amber situation, I guess, they didn't want to deal with it.
Christine, again, is in this alliance. She's just been so lucky. She's had all these alliances just forming around her. I think she's actually in the best spot in the house right now.
I'd agree with that.
So after that strategic snippet, we were cut to the backyard for a lighter moment where the house guests are talking about their man crushes. So Cody admits that his man crush is Zac Efron. That was extremely surprising for me. Cody says he's obsessed with chick flicks. Hayden's man crush is Leonardo DiCaprio. I'd agree with him.
That's a fair man crush.
That's definitely my man crush as well. You have any that you'd like to share with our audience, Mitch?
Leo's a good one. I'm also a big Denzel Washington kind of guy. So between the two of them, I think you can get a couple blockbusters in there.
Little training day.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Team America challenge this week was to get someone who's a physical threat up on the block. Amber is the strongest girl, so they're thinking of putting her up. But Frankie is tentative to do this because he doesn't want to put someone up from the Alliance. What did you think? They did end up putting Amber up. Did you like the move?
The first thing I thought of is how Cody felt when Frankie put Amber up, because I know that they were close, but if Cody was really against it, I don't think Frankie would have ended up putting Amber up on the block.
Brittany, again, this time she confides in Frankie that she's scared that Cody is going to put her up on the block. Frankie seems to be the person that people talk to. I don't think that's a wise call because Frankie immediately goes and tells Cody. Cody is insulted by that and thinks her actions are so high school. So then later on, Cody and Brittany get a moment in the kitchen, and Brittany's saying how she's over being in the house and she doesn't chase after Cody like the other girls do, and that's why she thinks she's up on the block.
Yeah.
That conversation just doesn't go well.
I don't know how, I guess, legitimate her comments about like not caring about being in the house were, because I know like on Survivor and Big Brother when people are just like they're like, oh, I don't care anymore, like I'm gonna quit or whatever. It rubs a lot of people the wrong way because obviously there's like thousands and thousands of people who want to be on these shows, and then for people to get on there and then like they just waste the opportunity. It rattles a lot of cages.
Yes, and very annoying for people watching to hear that. So, speaking of girls sort of chasing after Cody, there's more tension between Caleb and Cody over Amber. Frankie asks Caleb how he would feel about putting Amber up on the block. Caleb says that he's fine with it, and he's sort of over her. That's not true. And also the strategy behind putting her up. If Frankie puts Amber on the block, it sort of makes it look like the bomb squad is over. So, I don't know. I think it's a good move. So Cody nominates first, and he ends up putting up Victoria, and he actually remembers that she's in the house. Congratulations, Cody. So he puts up Victoria and Brittany, and then Frankie ends up putting up Jocasta and Amber. So that's a successful Team America challenge. Then we come to Amber trying to maybe rejuvenate El Cuatro a little bit. She starts talking with Nicole and Christine, and they might sort of hook up for this mini all-girls alliance. I think Joey would be extremely happy with this move.
Yeah, this needs to happen ASAP, especially now after this week with Brittany gone. I think there's a clear line in the sand, well, at least for us. I don't know about for the people in the house, but Caleb, I think, needs to flip with Donnie and start working with the girls to attack the detonators.
I definitely agree with that. If this continues, we're just going to have a house full of guys, and they're just going to pick the girls off one by one. So the Battle of the Block, it's a challenge where the four of them are on this sort of virtual chess board, and they have to move like a knight does on the chessboard. So they have to move in an L shape. And then whatever square you stop on, that one's removed from the board, and the last person left on the board wins. So, of course, Victoria is struggling with moving like a knight. She doesn't know how that works. That leads to Amber and Jocasta winning. And that's where we had that weird humming thing that we played off the top of the show. I thought she was going to pass out, but she stayed on her feet.
Yeah, normally for these sort of square competitions, they just do one square at a time, so it was nice to see a different variation of it. At first, I thought you couldn't cross over any square that had been landed on, I guess, so I thought the game would go by really fast, and look like they were only using half the board. But in the end, I guess a lot of it was used, and Amber and Jocasta are safe for the week.
So after Brittany remains on the block, she's saying how she doesn't trust anyone in the house. She said she trusted Cody, but that didn't get her anywhere. Victoria also feels that she's alone. She tells Hayden this, and Victoria confides in Hayden that she thinks she looks stupid on TV. I personally wouldn't know if she looked that stupid because we never really see her. Do you think she looks dumb?
I think when production does this sort of thing to a house guest, it shows that they're not satisfied at all with what they're providing to the show. We've seen a number of occasions with Victoria where pretty much everyone's like jokingly ripping on her, and they end up playing it on the show itself.
So previously in the week, Caleb had said that he's sort of over Amber, but that's not true at all because while everyone sort of congregated in the HOH room and Cody's holding Amber's hand and blowing on them to make them warmer, Caleb uses his military training to avoid all the cameras and sort of crawl in their blind spots, and he just bursts into the HOH room and catches everyone in the act, catches Cody and Amber holding hands. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, but after when Caleb was talking to Zach alone about Cody and Amber, I think if I was Zach, I would have told him to confront Cody about it, hopefully in front of a lot of members of the house, just to stir up some drama and make a big deal of it. I don't know if that probably would have ended up putting a target on Caleb even more, but I think it would have helped, I guess, ruffle some feathers.
Yes, and then Zach ended up just going and snitching to his best bud, Cody, and there's more animosity between Caleb and Cody.
Oh, that's funny because I feel within the detonators themselves, there's Derek, Frankie, and Cody, and then there's Christine. I'd almost put Christine above Zach. I feel like if you had to put them all on a totem pole, there's a clear top three, and then Christine and Zach on the bottom.
I think Cody will look out for Zach, though. I think they're tight.
Yeah? I don't know if Zach realizes how low on the power rankings he is, though.
Little no self-awareness there. So Brittany and Caleb actually get a little tender moment on the show. They're lying in the backyard, and Caleb tells Brittany that he's tired of being underappreciated by Amber because he went up on the block for her, and she's just not really giving him the time of day. So Caleb says he hopes that Brittany wins the power veto and that she stays, and says that, you know, if she ever needs to talk to someone, she can talk to Caleb. So there's a little bit of a glimmer of hope for Brittany. For the veto competition, it's Zach, Nicole, and then Brittany picks the house guest choice chip, and she picks Caleb, hoping that if he wins, he'll pull her down. So the competition itself is that classic Big Brother trading challenge, where if you get the lowest score in the round, you're out, and then you get a prize, and the people who get out after you can either take their prize or switch with you. So it's Victoria and Caleb in the finals. Victoria is having a big week, but she kicks her ball and scores a 0. So Caleb ends up winning the veto, but he chooses to take $5,000 as his prize instead of the veto, meaning Victoria gets to retain the veto medallion.
Yeah, there were a couple really confusing questions I had during this. First, why Nicole traded for the veto when it was obvious that Victoria would have taken it later from her. If I was Nicole, I just would have taken the Germany vacation instead. And then Victoria was up there, and when it was Victoria and Caleb in the finals, Victoria was like, "Oh, Caleb, do you want the veto or not?" She had to question if she wanted it, which was dumbfounding. And then the fact that Caleb didn't actually take the veto, because if he took the veto, he could have saved Brittany. And then Amber and Jocasta were already safe from the Battle of the Blocks. So that's 4 votes right there to go after the detonators. I feel like Cody obviously doesn't like Caleb, and he made it clear that he was a target this week. So, I mean, that's another reason why he should have taken the veto to save himself. I think what we've seen so far, it hasn't been made 100% clear, but pretty much is that Caleb still thinks he's in that Bomb Squad alliance, which could explain some of the moves he's made. But it's clear to, I guess, us watching at home how they've edited the show that he's on the outs of the 5 detonators now. Yeah,
I think Caleb's definitely blind to the fact that there is that detonators alliance. So Caleb doesn't take the veto, and Cody is pissed because now he's going to have to get more blood on his hands. So what he wants to do is actually backdoor Caleb this week. Zach is 100% down with that. Zach's really pumped about it. Frankie and Derek are not. They think that Caleb will be a vote for their side, so they don't see why he should put him up. But Cody, just in the heat of the moment, is livid. Cody thinks that he's the only person that's actually on Caleb's radar, so he has to get rid of him. Then Cody calls Donnie up to consult the wise oracle. He confides in Donnie that he doesn't know what to do. Donnie says, play your own game, think what your family would want, but he won't hold it against Cody if he does end up putting him up. Cody then says, don't worry, Donnie, you're not going on the block. I'm not putting you up.
I think either way, if he put up Caleb, his alliance still would have voted with him. It's not like they would have just turned their back. And I think a lot of the House would have also realized this is as a chance to get Caleb out. So it's not like Caleb would have stayed. Caleb would have definitely gone home.
Yes, but then you might have Brittany coming after you next week. But no, I agree. They should have taken down Caleb when they had the chance. So Victoria ends up using the veto on herself, obviously, and then in the moment of truth, Cody nominates Donnie. And at the end of Wednesday's episode, Donnie says he vows to get to the bottom of who is in Cody's ear telling him to do these things. After the veto ceremony, or veto meeting, Cody is just an emotional wreck. He's crying up in the HOH room, throwing his hat around, says he feels like a little bitch. And then Derek goes to his fellow Team America member Donnie and says, "Don't worry, you're safe. You've got my vote. No one's gonna vote you out." But Donnie is suspicious of Derek being the kingpin that's behind Cody's decision, and Donnie's a wise guy. I mean, Derek is definitely pulling the strings here. Donnie sets out to do some reconnaissance work. He starts asking about Cody's alliance, trying to dig something up, but Cody doesn't give up any information. And then Brittany starts campaigning to Caleb because she thinks that he has a lot of pull in the house. He really doesn't at this point, but it still seems like he does. So Caleb goes and tells the bomb squad that he thinks she should stay, and they say they're okay with it, but that's just for TV. They're not at all.
I think the House missed a big chance here by keeping Donnie over Brittany to just sort of swing the power in the House. I think a lot of the obviously, like you said earlier, the girls need to start banding together to get rid of the guys. But I mean, two of the girls are in a really good spot right now, Nicole and Christine. So that leaves Amber, Victoria, and Jocasta. I think that's it.
Yeah.
And then Caleb and Donnie, so that's 5. So they still don't have the numbers, but I mean, they need, at least if one of them wins HOH, they can start putting together that effort at least to get rid of at least one of the other side of the house.
So the week sort of continues, and it's on a sad note. Frankie gets news that his grandfather has passed away. He's very obviously upset about this, but he stays in the game. I was actually a little surprised that he stayed. What about you?
Okay, call me cold-hearted for this, but I don't think that they should have told him about this. I think that like what happens in the house needs to be like organic in that sense, that pretty much the house actions only affect what happened in the house. I know we have like Team America and that sort of thing, but you saw that Derek threw the HOH to Frankie this week because of Frankie getting to see a picture of his grandfather. I know it doesn't really make a difference because Derek and Frankie would have done the same thing as HOH, but imagine that as someone like Amber versus Frankie, and that would Amber have thrown that competition of Frankie so you could see a picture of his grandfather, just that sort of thing. So that bothered me, and I feel like it just adds, like I said, a small advantage, as sad as it is.
That's true.
To Frankie. So that was my only complaint about it. I understand why they did it, but for me personally, I don't agree with the decision.
Fair enough. So the have-nots this week are based on those activity trackers that the house guests are wearing on their wrists. Little bit surprising with the 4 that were the laziest over the course of the week. Nicole, in her Germatard and all. Caleb, Christine, and Derek. So have-nots are back.
Yeah, I forget the 4th one, that I predicted last week. But Nicole, Caleb, and Christine, if I remember correctly, were the 3 of the 4 have-nots from last Thursday, according to the activity tracker. So I think the 4th was like Jacosta or someone. So I guess she ran a couple laps, and Derek is now the 4th have-not.
So speaking of predictions, my prediction last week at the end of the show came true. Nicole and Hayden kissed. They kissed it out. So they haven't really made it official yet. Do you think they're gonna sort of come out as a couple, or?
I mean, it's
already
it's obvious, unofficially official. But it's not like they're a power showmance.
No, not yet at least.
Yeah, so I don't know if we've seen recently. I know last season with Amanda and McRae, they were more of a power showmance than Hayden and Nicole are right now. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay, so on to the actual eviction. Brittany is evicted unanimously. Are you kidding me? Another unanimous eviction on my team. There's been 3 unanimous evictions out of 4, and all 3 have been part of Team Michael. That's devastating. Okay, so on to the next HOH competition. It's that another classic Big Brother challenge where they play a tune, and then you have to decide whether that song is about a Battle of the Block competition, a Power Veto competition, or an HOH competition. So Frankie wins the first HOH. As you said, Derek threw it so that Frankie could see his grandfather. And then Zach is the other one. So Zanky is in power. It's the detonators again. So I don't predict anything too crazy happening this week. And then at the end of the episode, we get Team America's next task, which was make 2 house guests have an argument at the nomination ceremony or the veto meeting. The other choice was to hide someone's belongings and make that person think someone else did it. I wasn't really a fan of either of the 2. I don't think this one's going to be successful.
If they pull it off, I'll be really surprised. I think the first one would have been a lot easier in terms of hiding someone's clothes and then having someone publicly blame someone else. This, I feel like there's a lot of coordination that needs to go on. And with that, there's a lot of factors that have to come into play because like this argument needs to happen at the ceremony, has to happen in front of everybody. So unless they make the nominations really controversial somehow, unless they stage it, what if I just thought of this now? What if Frankie puts up Derek, and then Derek and Frankie argue about it? I don't know if that's worth their game just for the $5,000 to pull it off successfully. But I just thought of that now. That's an interesting one. It could be an easy one to stage that argument.
That's true. All right, on to surprises. Mitch, who are your surprises this week?
I had one surprise this week. It was the Germitard uniform. Honestly, because the first thing I thought of when I thought of Germitard was this like giant bacteria outfit, and not some like stereotypical like German drinking uniform. So that was my first surprise, and my only surprise of the week.
Okay, good one. My surprises, one is that Victoria is in fact still living in the house. She got screen time, and any doubt that she was actually still there has been cast aside. Victoria is still living in the Big Brother house.
She's there to play. She's there to win.
And she's definitely not there to make friends. Second surprise has been Christine. She's just been falling into these alliances. She's been in the right place at the right time. And as I said earlier, I don't think anyone's in a better position in the house right now. How about disappointments? Who do you have?
My disappointments, I have a lot this week. So first is Cody. You were HOH. As HOH, you get to call the shots. You had the chance to make a big move, and you didn't do it. My second disappointment is Caleb with the whole veto fiasco. Again, you could have potentially shifted the tide of the house, and you didn't do it. And my third one is a big one. It's the lack of house divide. We've only seen, out of the 4 evictions, they've all been unanimous except for 2 votes in the Paola eviction. So, I mean, I don't want this season to just be really predictable and a couple people run the house. There needs to start to be some division in there and get some people fighting against each other, which brings me to my next and last one. The lack of true HOH/Battle of the Block competition. We've gone into all of them sort of knowing what's going to happen, I guess, except for this past Battle of the Block. But with the HOHs, they've always been oh, let's work together and let's nominate the same 4 people over and over. When, like, let's say, like, Amber and Frankie or whatever are HOHs, then they can start, like, what if Amber puts up Derek and Cody, and then Frankie will put up, like, Victoria and Jocasta or whatever. So that sort of thing it's starting to be a disappointment.
I would definitely agree with that. My disappointments, just as you said, another unanimous eviction. It's disappointing for the reasons you mentioned, and also just for my personal team. It's just devastating me in the point system, which we're going to get into in a second. But my other disappointment is Cody, and again, I'm disappointed that he didn't put up Caleb. But I guess, just sort of to justify his decision, it is always good to leave a bigger target in the house than you. I think as long as Caleb's there, he's the bigger physical threat, so people might come after Caleb before they come after Cody. So, point recap.
Okay, so despite you winning 20 points from HOH, from getting both HOHs this week, you jumped out to an early lead, but now I'm up at the end of the week 51-42. I was really helped out by Victoria's big veto win and taking herself off the block. I've also been helped out a lot by the 3 unanimous evictions. That's been probably close to minus 30, 35, helping me out. So that's been a big help. And for you, though, Frankie's been an absolute beast.
Frankie's
this is his 3rd HOH. So between his HOHs and all your unanimous evictions, it's probably only minus a couple points.
All right. On to predictions for next week. I predict a tame week with the detonators in power. I don't think Frankie really wants to ruffle feathers right now because he was not down at all to get Caleb out. And I think that he can control Zach. I think he's the puppet master in the Zanky alliance. For nominations, I have Victoria, Donnie, Jocasta. I think those 3 are absolute locks to go up. And the 4th one, I could see it going anywhere. I said Nicole, but, I mean, I just had to name someone. So, who are your nomination predictions?
Just the usual. Victoria, Amber, Jocasta, and Donnie on the block. Yada, yada, yada. Same thing every week. And the only potential thing I could see going on is a possible Caleb backdoor. So again, with detonators in power, same thing's going to happen this week as in every week.
I predict Team America will fail.
I hope they do, just for the fact that like they aren't successful in pulling off every task.
That's true. We still don't know though if Team America is going to continue even if one of them is evicted, because Julie sort of hinted like if Donnie went home, maybe it was the end. I think they'll still roll with 2.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they'll replace anybody. It's a bit late to introduce that concept to the house for everyone else, but 2 people could still try and pull off a task.
Vote Joey back in.
And Devin.
Definitely bring back Devin.
Make them go against the rest of the house.
Add some flavor to the season.
Crazy Eights. Let's go.
Bring back the Crazy Eights and the Double Ds. All right, eviction prediction. Who's going home?
I don't know. Caleb. I'll say Caleb for the guys and like Amber for the girls.
Ooh. I'm just rolling with one prediction for eviction. Little rhyme. Jocasta. She's done this week.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think she is.
Honestly, I think her and Victoria will make it to jury. That's a prediction right there.
Ooh, bold prediction for the week. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the B2M2 podcast. Hope you enjoyed yourself and you are now caught up with everything that went down on BB16 in the past week. For Mitchell Machtinger, I'm Michael Hoad. We'll be back next week.